Key Club folks from Huntington Park helped us out this year. And so it's a very fine event, and we've had that, going for about the last 10 years or so. On Thanksgiving Day, starting at noon in Southgate Auditorium. It's a freebie for those that come, and we have a lot of folks that are quite regulars there, you might say.
How about block watch?
We have, and that's an area that we're working on improving, because we have several groups in our community that are very attentive to that issue. And we're trying to get at least 100 block watch captains and areas to keep an eye on, because it's really, the police department can't watch everything. I mean, we have fewer than 100 police officers. And for a city of 100,000 folks, 7.5 square miles, we basically respond to calls from the police department, and they do a good job on things. But it's really in the neighborhoods, you have to have people that will report suspicious activities to the police department, and then to be able to keep a handle on these things. Now, last year, we had one homicide in the city of Southgate, whereas back in the 1980s, we had as many as 12 or 13 homicides. That's a Penal Code 187 violations. And the last several years, that number has really dropped down considerably from what it was in the 1970s and 80s. And as I say, we had one last year, and that started actually in the city of Compton, and it involved a tow truck driver who was legally repossessing a car, and the people there that he was repossessing the car from didn't like that, and they ended up killing the man, chasing him with the repossessed car on Firestone and Rayo at about 2:30 in the morning, and unfortunately he passed away. And so this is, I think our community is relatively safe. We have had an increase, though, in petty crimes and what I call property crimes in the last 6-9 months or so. And I think Downey has seen a similar situation, and it's because in the state budget that was passed several years ago, known as 109, the state decided to let a lot of people out of the prison system. And it's been a very controversial thing. Some people are for it, some against it. But the net result is many people that were doing time in the state prison have been released to the county jails. And since the county jails are overcrowded, Sheriff McDonald can only handle so many people in our county jail system, and when he has funds for only so much. And so a lot of these folks get released to the street. And a lot of these folks are out on the street who I believe should be still locked up, and thusly they take advantage of some situations. If they walk down the street, there's nobody on the street looking, and they see a lady's purse is still on the inside of her car, they may pop the window and steal it. And so we've had an increase in petty thefts and what I call property crimes. And our murder rate is down. Our Part 1 crimes, which are arson, murder, aggravated assault, things of that nature, are still down. But the property crimes have gone up. That's also as a result of Prop 47. And that's something we all voted for quite a while ago, a couple of years ago, which decriminalized many activities involving drugs and things of that nature. And crimes, property crimes less than $950 worth of value were then, if somebody was arrested for that, they'd just be given a ticket for it. They don't even go to jail. Typical shoplifting, things of that nature. So those people can go out and repeat and repeat and repeat the offense, and the police are somewhat handicapped in that regard on that. And so the citizens in our community, and this is not just Southgate, but it's all over Southern California, probably all over California, and that those crime rates have gone up significantly. and hopefully we can have some modifications of the law. But the state of California, I guess, primarily didn't want to spend the money keeping folks, and they were under some federal guidelines or court decrees to cut down on their population, that they basically gave it to the counties to take care of. This is a situation you could do a whole program on, this particular aspect of the criminal justice system. And it's also affected our court system, because many of the judges now, many of our courtrooms are shut down. Several years ago, we had a court in Huntington Park up on Seville. We had a court here in Southgate, right next to Southgate City Hall. And there's, of course, one in Downey. There's still one in Downey and Norwalk and Compton, but we're missing a lot of the courthouses. That means you don't have as many people working in the courts. You don't have the court reporters. You don't have the bailiffs. You don't have, and so there's been a tendency to settle a lot of criminal cases, and if you have a civil case going on, it's very difficult to get court time. The court system in California is under a lot of stress right now, and I know a number of judges and people in this business, and it is a real problem.
I was wondering, so after you started with the finance department, tell me about your journey to running to council.
Well, oh golly, I was doing some things, oh golly, that would have been back about 1978. Well, I was on a planning commission for 2 years, in 78 and 79, and then an opening came up on our city council in 1980, and I ran for council the first time, and I won the first time, which it was, generally you don't win the first time around on running for an office, but I was fortunate and able to win at that time, and it opened up a whole new area of experiences for me as compared to just being in the private sector. But it's been very rewarding. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about water systems and municipal law and what it takes to run a city. Now, a city, whether it's a charter city or a general law city, is basically a provider of services. The only thing the city of Southgate actually sells to the public is water. We don't have any other products we sell. We sell services. We have police services, we have lighting services, we take care of street lights, we take care of trees, we take care of, obviously, the streets, the potholes and things of that nature. We take care of the city sewer system, which then flows into the county sewer system. So it's been quite an experience to me to learn how these things operate and try to make them operate in a cost-effective manner and as economical a system as possible, because sometimes young people or even older people get into office and they feel they can do anything. Like we have certain candidates running for president that just say that they can do anything, they can get everything done, whatever that is. And but really, in the case of a city council, you have to be able to count to 3. Because if you can't get 3 votes on something, you're not going to get anything through. And so you have to be able to work with the other members on the council to be able to make an effective change, if it's change that you're really interested in. But a city is just basically a business. It provides these services. You have tax money coming in, and you have to have enough tax money coming in, whether it be property tax, sales tax, fines and fees, different sources of revenue, interest, things of that nature, and to be able to cover the expense of running a police department, a parks department, public works, housing, a bus system, all these things. It takes money to do it. And so you have to be able to balance things, and it's kind of, it takes a lot of planning and a lot of effort to make sure that you have money in the account, because the last thing you want to have happen is not have money to be able to pay off vendors.
Tell me about the different commissions.
Well, we have, probably the most important is our planning commission, and they deal with zoning issues and basically property issues. new development, things where, from a resident's point of view, suppose a resident wants to split a lot and then make 2 lots out of it and have 2 homes on it, or maybe there are already 2 homes, but they want to split it to affect a sale. Those things have to go through our planning commission. A lot of the work on planning and everything is done at the planning commission level. The only time it gets to the city council is if it's the decision of the planning commission is appealed. Then it goes before the council for us to make a decision. And that is probably only 1 out of about 30 times does that happen. Because generally there's enough discussion and amendments made at the planning commission that facilitates a good transition. In the city of Southgate here, we had a new shopping center open, about a 30-acre shopping center called the Azalea Shopping Center at Firestone and Atlantic Boulevard. And there were a number of parcels there that had to be put together into one parcel that had to go through the planning commission and the city council. And that then facilitated a developer coming in and actually building a shopping center where we had a number of retail shopping areas. We had a new Walmart, Ross's, and all these stores, plus a lot of restaurants. And that helped provide additional sales tax revenue, plus about 650 jobs for people in Southgate and Cudahy and Bell and that general area. And so on the city council, we try to encourage good businesses to come into our community, and particularly those that produce a lot of sales tax, because that helps us pay the bills. Now, we have some businesses that don't pay much in the city. Those are the people that provide health care, dental facilities, trucking companies, things that we have some very large trucking companies. We have J.B. Hunt along the freeway, the 710 freeway at Firestone Boulevard. And we don't get much revenue out of them, although they tear up our streets a lot. And that creates a problem because the gas tax revenue that's produced in California, we pay a local gas tax of 18 cents for every gallon of gas that you purchase, whether it be for a car, a motorcycle, or whatever. And that the cost of maintaining our highways, Southgate has about 135 miles of streets, and this gas tax produces enough money for us to pave about 3.5 to 4 miles a year of streets, and that's not enough to keep up with the deterioration that we have. And so this is a big problem. It's also a problem because now we're getting a lot of electric vehicles that don't pay the gas tax, yet they're using the streets. And eventually, I'm sure we're going to have some battery-operated heavy trucks. And it's the heavy trucks that really put the wear and tear on the pavement. And so the state is going to have a real problem. It's not for the city to determine the gasoline tax. It's for the state to consider that. And I know they're looking at that very closely now. But I suspect that we will have some modification in the tax rate on a gallon of gas. And plus the fact, the cars that if you had a 1968 Firebird and it made 7.5 miles a gallon, now you have a car that makes 20 miles a gallon or 30, you're not buying as much gasoline.
Well, I do want to thank you for taking the time to be here on the Falcon Spotlight. We have another show coming up, but in closing, what tips would you have for someone that wants to one day run for office?
Well, is get active in your community. Stay active, follow things, get appointed to a commission, whether it be Parks and Rec Commission or Planning Commission or CAC. I just made an appointment to our CAC committee, which helps to allocate the federal funding that comes into the city of Southgate. And I appointed Ruben Lopez, who is the band director and a resident of Southgate at Southgate High School. He grew up in Southgate, went away to school at USC, was in the SC marching band at every football game, and then came back, and now he teaches music at Southgate High School. And he's my most recent appointee to our CAC, and that just happened at our last council meeting. And so my advice would be, if they want to get involved in politics, and politics can be a very nasty business at times, because You have to be able to take a lot of abuse and things of that nature from time to time, but become active in the community. And that's a good stepping stone.
Thank you very much, and this concludes this edition of the Falcon Spotlight. Until next time, folks.
How'd we do?
Pretty great. I
Okay.
lost track of time. I was like, oh.
Okay, well, you got my card if I can help you with anything.
Definitely.
What do you